Hey everyone, how's it going? My name is Nate Caywood. I'm a Los Angeles-based cinematographer, and this is Film Shit, a podcast where I sit down with a working professional in the TV and film industry. I ask them where they came from, what exactly it is that they do, and what the future of the industry looks like. Today, I am incredibly excited to have our next guest. I'm inspired by you constantly. You are a actor, you are a writer, you are a dancer, you are a choreographer, you are a musician, you are an overall creative person. I am so grateful that you are here, Mekenna Melvin. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Oh,
It's
how
hard
does it feel?
Yeah, that to say all those labels feels like something I'm allowing myself to accept to be true about myself.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
It is sometimes difficult, I think, specifically because of how the industry operates, is to give ourselves the grace to just be artists.
Yeah.
And that there doesn't have to be a single medium or discipline.
Yeah.
And but the industry's not interested in that. They're like, but how can I sell you?
100%. And that feels like a serious heart of my whole moment of where I'm at right now.
Right.
I don't know if we'd like jump into that.
We jump into everything.
Okay.
I mean,
this is my first podcast. Everybody, okay.
Welcome.
So.
How incredible is this? I'm so grateful that you're here with us. Okay, so we'll just make it easy. So the first thing is like, where are you from?
I am from Saratoga, California.
Okay, and what's that close to?
That is close to San Jose, California,
okay.
Which is, or like Santa Cruz is the beach town.
I love Santa Cruz.
I know, Redwood Forest with an ocean view. You cannot beat it.
Incredible.
I took it for granted. I did not understand what beauty I had until I left.
Did you cruise the boardwalk as a kid? Was that like a thing that you would do, right?
You know, we would go a couple times a summer, but so much of my childhood was like very much in a like little suburb where we had this neighborhood and in the middle was a pool, and anyone who was part of my neighborhood went to this pool, and we were all on the same swim team. And so much of my childhood was like just living and playing with my friends and on bikes. And
That sounds idyllic and bougie at the same time.
I think it is.
Yeah.
I think maybe, yeah. We had a directory where we could like call, like I knew everybody who lived in my neighborhood. We could like call their parents or It was a special way to grow up for sure.
Was there a gate at the front of this community?
There was not a gate at the front of this community.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I was like, dang, that sounds
incredible. Yeah, it is. I mean, it is interesting, like where I'm from in the Bay Area, which is also kind of a journey to be from there. You know, it was one thing, and then the .com boom came, and then everything else changed. So at one point, for sure, the whole area became like a very wealthy area.
Right.
And I watched like these different waves, I guess. Like there would be a boom, and there'd be people who would move in, and like their dad would be on like, I don't even know what people do in the .com world, but something like that. And then there would be a crash, and then they would go.
Right.
And then there would be like another wave. But my parents were public school teachers. So
oh, wow.
Yeah.
So not riding the .com
Not riding.
waves. Okay, great.
Yeah. The house that my parents have in Saratoga was like, that neighborhood was my dad's dream neighborhood to be able to get into when he was a kid, when they moved to Campbell, California, which is another part of
Dang, so this is like this has been a long manifestation of your dad getting to this spot. That's incredible.
Yeah. So, and it was a great, looking back now, I can see how lucky I was to have that. But so most of my summers were there, not at the beach.
Gotcha.
Although I wish I would have spent more time at the beach.
Well, you know, hindsight, it's like, I feel the same way like as a kid, you know what I mean? There's like, you like look back and you're like, why was I busy doing that or whatever when I could have been doing fill in the blank? And it's like, it doesn't matter. We were
also,
just being kids.
Just no time. And I was like a busy kid, like soccer overlapped with volleyball, which overlapped with basketball, which overlapped with softball, which overlapped with swimming, then come back to soccer.
Right.
And then during that, I was like, I would do a play if I could do a play.
Sure.
So I was like, and that was not inherently like my parents pushing me. Like they definitely gave me the options. We had one rule: if you sign up for it, you have to finish the season, and the next year you don't have to do it if you don't want to.
That's a great rule, parents.
Yeah. And so I've always wanted to do a million things.
Yeah. It's interesting. I feel like I had a very similar childhood, to be honest, though, just in the middle of nowhere, Wisconsin. But it was like really, idyllic and rural, and like everybody knew everybody,
Yeah.
and we rode BMX bikes everywhere, and we had a directory as well, but we just called it a phone book, and it was just our hometown, and so we could call anybody. And I also did the same thing, which is like I played every sport and did every play and musical that existed, because they were I had 120 people, or maybe 125 in my graduating class in high school. So it was like, if you're in middle school, you just do you have to do everything. Otherwise they can't field the team, you know?
Yeah, that's interesting. The way, when you just said it, it is like my little neighborhood was almost like a small town within a big city.
Right.
Because the high school I went to, I went to a public school, and then I got diagnosed with dyslexia, and a few things happened, and they didn't have the program that I needed. So then I went into a Catholic school because they had the program that would help me.
Gotcha.
Very tiny, like 32 kids that we were there the whole time. And then I go to a high school with 4,000 kids. Like there was 820 in my graduating class. So it was a total like shift of culture for me. And that's also where my mom taught theater, which is like a big part of all this. So my mom was a theater teacher my whole life. So I grew up literally like in her theater. I don't even remember the first time I was on stage. I have photos of it, but it's like a story somebody told me.
Sure.
So my whole life was kind of like, in this world of performing and creating. And I watched my mom like create these huge worlds, and yes, it's always just kind of been there.
That's super cool. So you knew from a very young age that you were like, I'm an actor already. You weren't gonna be an actor. You're like, I am an actor.
That's a great question. I think I have spent most of my life being very like kind of insecure about like who and what I'm supposed to be. So I don't think I thought about it in like confidence like that, but I knew that it was just a part of my life. And to be honest, there was a part where I was like, Mom, I want to be an actress on TV. And she would say like, when you're 18, you can make those decisions.
Right.
And so like one time, like my dad, who on the other side was like, no, we're gonna like get you in there. He found like a Wiener Schnitzel commercial is what it was. We're like, don't tell Mom that you're gonna audition for this kind of thing.
This is hilarious to me. It's like, wow, look at how nefarious you and your dad are taking you to an audition.
And then I got a call back, and then that was like, oh, what's gonna happen? And then I don't know if I answered your original question, but was it something I knew? It was very much okay. I don't know at what point I was like really aware of this, but I knew that when I was on stage, I felt very at home, and I felt like performing like made a lot of sense to me. And I think because of like some of the pieces of my childhood, I lived in a lot of like disassociation. So I had this dream about my life and where it was going to go. And if I could just get to Hollywood and be a famous actress and win an Academy Award, then I would be picked, chosen, and loved, and everything would be okay.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like a perfectly reasonable plan.
And it turns out that's a trauma response.
Right. Right. Okay, well, let's go back to that a little bit, right? Because like I'm curious, like one of the reasons why I wanted to sit down with people is to understand everybody's sort of genesis, and to realize that nobody's path is the same, that we all find ourselves in different ways to getting to wherever we are. And so when you were a kid, you were obviously always performing. You were always on stage by virtue of your mother having a stage for you to be on.
Exactly. Or being around it in backstage. Like I remember she did the Scottish play, which is a word we're not supposed to say. That's some theater lore.
Oh, yeah,
if you know what it is.
And
like there's witches in it, and we did this like cool makeup where they like covered one of the girls' eyes, and I would just be obsessed. Like I wanted to go to every single performance. I wanted to everything about the creation of a different world. Excited me. So I think that is what I'm getting at. It wasn't necessarily that. I don't think being an actress was the truest expression of my entire creative being.
Right.
But I was like, this is the only place that I see in the world that you can do that. I didn't know how to honestly do what my mom was doing because we didn't have like examples of that in the industry. At least I didn't. It seemed like you were this or you were that, and there wasn't really any women directors or, you know.
Right. Okay, so When that was happening and you
Yeah.
were like growing up under the creation of these like incredible worlds
Yeah.
that your mother is
Mm-hmm.
making, like, did you feel like, um, you obviously knew that you wanted to do that. Did you ever feel pressure from your mom to do that? Or did you just naturally slide into being like, I just see this expression, I think it's incredible, I like the building of these universes, I can't wait to do that? Or is it sort of like, well, I guess I'm supposed to do this?
It was definitely my choice. I don't
Mhm.
think there wasn't, she never really pushed me. But what she did do, and I am so kind of grateful for this, is that I historically, there's a part of me that's a little like scared of the
Mhm.
world. You know what I mean? To
Yeah.
like go out and do the thing. Like I'm constantly like wrestling, am I big or am I small? Can
Right.
I go? And so what my mom did is she would and this is also I think her gift as a teacher and a director and a theater teacher, all the things, is she saw what was inside of me and what I wanted, and then she encouraged me. So like the best example of this maybe early on would be the decision to go to the college that I went to, which
Okay.
wasn't is an it's an acting conservatory. I went to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts in New York.
In New York. Okay, great.
Yeah. And I really wanted to have 4 year, like I thought that going to school and having like a 4 year university degree was like very, very important.
Okay.
A lot of that had to do with the fact that I had a learning disability. So feeling like I was not as smart as everyone else, or there was like something wrong with me. It felt like I wanted to do that and be fast tracked.
Right.
And I didn't want to be different. Like I was so afraid of being different, and I'm still afraid of being different, but I'm also like, hey girl, you're fucking weird. You're neurodivergent. You got all this stuff. Like just own it.
Yeah.
But at that time I didn't want to. And I mean, it's a bit of a longer story, but because of kind of like the neurodivergent stuff, which affected my ability to get like an SAT score that I wanted, I qualified to have for my SATs to have like untimed SATs and like have a reader for me.
Right.
But my for better or worse was like, well, I'm going to be like everybody else, you know? So I kind of like shot myself in the foot a little bit for my SAT scores. And so I would audition for all these colleges, and like I would get into some of the program, like the programs would want me, but then the college would be like, oh, you got to wait till next year to come back and all this stuff.
Right.
And my mom, what she did is she was like, there's this acting conservatory in New York, and we came to LA to do all the auditions for like USC, UCLA, all the things. And she just she signed me up for it without like me saying yes, but like having a 2-year degree didn't feel like it would be whatever that thing I was talking about before. Yeah. And then I went, and I remember even like the audition felt so much different than everything else. It was actually the perfect place for me because it wasn't this big place that I would have been overwhelmed with, that I would have been overstimulated by. It was like a small school where the focus was about being an artist.
Right.
And that is, so it's not that my mom was like making these decisions for me, but she was oftentimes pushing me towards the thing I was afraid to do, and would see the like avenue that was right for me.
And it seemed like it was probably a good move.
It was a good move. Yeah. I mean, showing up to New York City at 18 when I'd only moved one time, and that was from one bedroom to the other bedroom.
Right.
When my sister moved out. So that was a lot.
Yeah.
But it was like, what a life experience.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go back a little bit.
Sure.
So you're acting, you're like you're performing regularly throughout your youth.
Yes.
And you sort of accept that you want to be an actress or actor on TV at some point in time in that.
Yeah.
And so once that happens, like that age creates this desire. Like, are you like full bore? Are you like, I am doing this thing?
I think it was always this thing that I wanted, but I don't think it was super fully clear, because also there was all these other loves. Like acting wasn't the only thing I loved. My high school experience was so special. Like we had this specific little pocket in time in this public school in San Jose that had this incredible program. And so I would be in a dance, like I would be in this dance program where it wasn't just like, you're learning to dance. It was like, if you could create anything you wanted in the world, what would it be? Choose a style, a piece of music, whatever it is. So I was getting to create that, and everything kind of talked to each other. So dance would be like the music I was learning in choir. I would then like bring those together. And then what I was learning in history, I would then put that into my thematic. And then there was drama too. So it was always like this bigger, fuller picture of what I wanted.
Right.
And there was a version of me that was going to follow the dance route. Sure. And I was going to go to college and do a dance program. But at that time, like, So You Think You Can Dance and stuff hadn't existed. So I didn't know that there was like a career that could happen in like any version of longevity. Right. So it felt like the avenue that was right for me was acting, because as a woman, you could go be an actress. Again, then you win the Academy Award, you're picked, chosen, and loved, and then they'll let you do stuff.
Right.
Right? Like, we're in a totally different paradigm now, because so many people have like, keep hitting this. It's my first podcast, remember? It's like so many people have kind of like helped us break that paradigm. But I think if I'm trying to put myself back in that headspace, like that was more what I was thinking. Yeah. And again, I was so like painfully insecure. Like the whole time, it was a lot of my leaning on the bravery I wanted, but my mom and my dad would really like help me.
At 18 years old,
yes,
you moved to New York.
Sure do.
You start studying at ADA.
And I moved in to the New Yorker Hotel, which I think is a fun fact.
Whoa.
I was living in a working hotel.
Okay, wait, why was that the choice?
It's wild. Because that's where educational student housing was. So New York City, like you're not building new places. So if the school didn't have at the time, I think it does now, but at the time it didn't have housing for its students. Right. So you kind of were on your own to find housing, but there was different versions of like some hotels would rent floors to colleges. So my whole floor was my people from my school. Right. And then underneath was another school. Right. But then we were also living in a working hotel. So like I could order room service if I wanted to. And there was like the TikTok diner downstairs that I would get like cheese fries. My favorite was, it was really close to Madison Square Garden. Sure. And so Westminster, the dog show was happening. Yeah. And they had all the dogs at our hotel. So the fanciest dogs on the planet were all at the hotel. And I was like, heaven, but you can't touch them. Like you're not supposed to touch them. But I would just be in the elevator and be like, oh my God, that is the winning bulldog.
That is incredible.
So it was a really
that's dope.
different
I mean, man, that sounds awesome.
It was a really, really cool, it was just like night and day from what I had experienced. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Which is important. I think even just the experience of going to live somewhere else and being so far away from home and just having to do college that way is like so important for people to just be like, well, I'm getting out of my comfort zone. You gotta figure it out.
And I had to figure it out. Like I went back to New York, whatever, in the last like decade or whatever, and you can GPS how to get places in the trains and stuff. That didn't exist, okay? So I had to sit with the little thing and be like, okay, I'm gonna get on this train, and I think that train's gonna be here, and if the train doesn't show up, there's no app to tell you. It was so, it was just different, but also it created so much of the adult I would then become. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I do know what you're saying. Okay, so you're there and you're in class for 2 years.
I'm in class for 2 years. Yes.
Okay, great. Mm-hmm. And did you do any productions while you were there? That were like you're like, oh man, this is such a great production of.
At the school itself. Okay, I think. Well, my exam play, I got the lead in The Marriage of Bet and Boo. Okay. And if my dad were here talking about it, he would be like, it was the greatest thing. At the end, there was a standing ovation. But my experience of it was like, I don't know. I know that it was a successful show and I had so much fun doing it. Yeah. But sometimes it's hard for me to take that piece in. But I would say that was was the final show that we did. I got the lead and I loved that show.
That's awesome.
I think that's also the last theater that I've done, which is so wild to me because so much of the beginning of my life was always on a theater stage. And then, I kind of shifted into a different medium of it. Right. Yeah.
But the medium was because of the acceptance and the adulation of the industry that would allow you to then do the things that you wanted to do creatively. Because you said that a number of
Yeah.
times, right? Like, why TV? Like, why film? Besides the Oscar.
This is all, I'm unpacking all this in therapy right now, but
Yeah.
but I think, see, like, that's another thing too. I don't know how like conscious I was of it then.
Right.
Because to take it even back, like, yes, I grew up with this mom who was a drama teacher and all of these things. And yes, I wanted to be that, but it wasn't just that. Like, what I'm realizing for me as a person is that my creativity was a place that I could make sense of the world and my feelings.
Right.
And so, like, I think I don't have the clearest answer of why film and TV, but I have a lot of ideas of why.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them would be like, I would have these like big, huge emotions and not really know how or what or the context of them. And then I would watch some like intense thing like Sophie's Choice and see Meryl Streep like devastated and crying. And I'd be like, that is how I'm feeling. You know what I mean? And then I would go into my room as a little kid and then like reenact whatever big emotions it was and like literally watch myself in the mirror. And it was like some place that I could have this release. Like having art was a place for me to emotionally release and, like I said, make sense, especially as like a kid with like a neurodivergent thing when everything else, like the way other people are processing things, I'm not always processing them.
Right.
So I'm creating stories and narratives. And also like I couldn't spell, obviously I'm dyslexic. And so for me to be able to do that, me and my mom would create songs for me to remember. So I was always using art to help me survive in society in certain ways.
You gotta sing a song.
No.
You gotta give me one of the songs just for one word.
Remember.
You can't remember?
I can't remember my spelling test
yeah.
songs, but I still use it today. Like this would be an embarrassing thing. So I will have intrusive thoughts a lot because of all the things. And so sometimes when I'm in a place where I'm having intrusive thoughts, I like sing this little song that's like, just because you think it doesn't make it true, just because you think it doesn't make it true, just because you think it doesn't make it true, intrusive thoughts. And then I dance around my living room like a crazy person.
Yeah.
And then it's out of my system.
That sounds incredible.
And that used to be something so embarrassing to me about my personality. But that part of my personality, like, I think that is the thing that is cool about theater is you can be weird like that. And there's a space for it, you know?
Yeah.
Now, after all the stuff the work I'm doing on myself and understanding myself, I'm like, oh, that's your ADHD.
Right.
So that's cool. That's part of the way you do things.
Right.
But even to like self-regulate, I am using art. I am dancing in my living room. Like I had a week this week that was difficult and I got a little dysregulated and I was like, put on every sad song you can think about and just dance until it's out of your system.
Right.
Yeah.
That sounds great.
Thanks.
That sounds incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting because it's like.
So it was about like wanting the career.
Yeah.
But the career was like, I think there was this element like that I thought it would heal all the things. Like I wouldn't be the weird kid who was masking to be accepted or like the boy I liked would like me. But like and then when I got to I didn't win an Academy Award, but I did yet. But my career, I did have success.
Right.
And then when I had that version of success, and a lot of people say that, it was like, it didn't heal anything. In fact, it brought up everything.
Right. Interesting.
You know?
Okay. Let's jump forward. We're going to go to it. Okay. So you graduate at like 20 years old, I would guess, right?
Yeah, because I turned 21 in Los Angeles.
Okay, you turned 21 in Los Angeles.
Yes.
So you moved to LA. You live in LA now.
Yes.
You're 21 and you're doing actory stuff.
I am going to Sam French and I am looking at a book that has I buy a book that says like agents and managers in Los Angeles and I take my acting headshot with my resume that's black and white and I write a cover letter and I send it to every single place I could possibly go, which I didn't realize wasn't like a cool thing to do. I just didn't know how to do it.
Right.
And I was working at a restaurant. I was working at the counter. I opened the first counter in Santa Monica.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was just going to ask, is like the hamburger joint?
Yes, before it was.
You can choose everything that you want?
Yes, you can. I was one of in the very beginning before they even franchised and stuff. So that's what I was doing. And I was living in Originally, I was living in a house with 4 girls. Me and my high school girlfriend were like sharing a bed, literally. Yeah, and I was trying to find an agent. I was trying to figure it out. I had a friend from acting school who was out here, and he was in movies, and like he had started like booking some stuff.
Yeah.
And so he was helpful in that in some ways. But I will say, from that little like push I put out into the world, I did get a couple of meetings. I didn't get anything that happened, or I didn't get signed or anything like that.
Right.
And then I started like submitting myself on whatever the websites were, and I found myself in this like little Chapman hole for a minute, like Chapman University.
Yeah.
And I did like, I can't even think about like 10 or something Chapman films within a 2-year period. And I have to say that was, it was like going to film school a second time. Like, I'm so actually grateful for that. I learned everything about what it meant to be on a set. I didn't go there, but I'm going to plug Chapman. It was like such a great experience. Like, okay, this is a C-stand. This is your mark. This is where you do, this is everything.
Yeah, totally different acting than just like acting.
Yeah, and I got like the real picture of everything. And also too, I think back at that time, it's some of my favorite like characters I was able to play because, you know, like kids are trying things. We're all just trying things.
Yeah.
And so I did that, and then I was in this like catch-22 for a long time about like how to get my SAG card. Oh wait, no, before that I was doing, which is controversial, but I was doing like casting director workshops that we now
I don't think that's controversial at all. That was a totally different time.
Yeah.
We all did them to different levels of success. Like my buddy Echo, who was on here, the very first podcast that we did, got his agent that got him a network TV show. So it's like, there's like this perspective where culture now in Los Angeles as actors look back on that as like a pay for play scheme, and it was like no, that was actually, even though not everybody got opportunity, if you could show up and you had the goods, somebody could see that they would make money off of you. And that was how this town works.
Honestly, so much of like this is how I looked at it. I would like look at this like shows that were on, and I'd figure out who the casting directors were that would, like, I felt like, oh, I would make sense on that show or whatever. And then when I would see that they would have a workshop, I would target that workshop. And
you would do this just all on your own from your own brain? Like you didn't have like you weren't at like
I
fill in the blank famous acting school here in LA?
This is my dyslexia at play.
It's so genius though.
My whole life I've had to figure out how to do things differently. Like the normal path was never going to be my path. So I would do that. And then I got my the casting director, one of the casting directors who would later cast me or be part of the team that would cast me in Chuck, which was a big show for me. He originally met me there. Years later, I think he had like saved it, is my understanding. And then I also met my first manager in a casting director workshop, and she was sending me out, but I wasn't SAG yet, and I wasn't getting the job to like Taft-Hartley me. So I started to do background work, and I would just hustle and do background work and then be like, please, can you give me a voucher? Please, can you give me a voucher? And I finally got the vouchers. I got 2 vouchers for being in the background of an Entourage. You can actually see a clip of me, which felt like very exciting.
Yeah, of course.
And then my last voucher was to be a stand-in for a 12-year-old boy. And then thank you. And then I was the right size. And and then I was eligible. And so then that kind of did open things up for me. And then I booked my first TV job.
What was the first TV job?
My first TV job was on a show called Lie to Me, and my scene was with Tim Roth, and that felt like crazy.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it was.
Was it amazing?
It was. Yeah, it was really amazing. I haven't thought about that job in so long. It was really. It was like confidence boosting, I think I can say, because I was very nervous, but I was like, no, I know what I'm doing. I've been on a bunch of sets, and I felt really good and in the pocket. And I remember he said afterwards, he said something really complimentary and was like, I can't wait to see like where you go. And so it was all around a really, really great experience.
Man, that's awesome. That's really awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so you kick it with Tim Roth.
I mean, we have a scene together.
Yeah, on set, y'all kicking it.
Yeah.
Then what happens, right? So you're starting to work, like it's
Yeah,
happening.
I'm starting to work.
You were hustling. You
I'm
were putting in the time.
hustling.
You're doing the
I'm
grind.
I'm getting like co-stars, guest stars. I'm working at the restaurant. And then there was a day that I remember I got like a few auditions. I had like 3 or something that day, and 2 of them were like big, meaty guest stars that would have like lots of dialogue and stuff. And then I had a 1-word co-star, and the word was mom, or was it dad? Now I'm forgetting. This is also part of the story. I think it was mom.
Yeah.
It was mom. Oh gosh. And anyway,
okay.
it was 1 word.
Yeah.
And then and that was for Chuck. And I remember, this is also like, if you're not from Los Angeles, like if you have an audition in Santa Monica and then you have to be to like Studio City, like this is 2 hours depending upon the time.
Oh, yeah. On
and
a good
you're
day.
just like in your car going back and forth. And again, no GPS. So what I had was MapQuest that I had printed out.
Yep.
And I'd have all my little things right here. Again, dyslexic, can't even read. So I'm like trying to figure out what it is. And if there is a road closure, you're screwed. It was a very stressful day. And I was in the car and I remember being like, Mom, I think like I'm not gonna be able to make this. I'm just skip that one. And she was like, again, this thing, sometimes my mom will push me in these moments. She's like, I think you need to show up to that one. And I was like, oh, okay. And so I show up to that one and I go in and this is my memory of it. Is I remember being there and looking at all the girls around me. And I think the wardrobe I was wearing was for like my next audition.
Yeah.
And I was like, I am not stressed the way, like I'm not gonna get this. This is not for, and I go in and it was in front of like all the writers and everyone. I didn't know the room was going to be that big either. And I had 1 word and I said the wrong one. I either said mom or dad, whatever it was. I think it was mom. And then we laughed and then I did it again. And then I booked the job.
Okay. Time out. I'm sorry. We got to go back.
And that's not even, there's even more to that. Yeah.
You said the wrong word?
Yeah, that's my memory of it.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. And I love it. And I'm obsessed with this. I think that's great. Look, I think that this is part of all of this is to create permission structures for people to be comfortable not knowing that they don't know what they're doing. You know what I mean? Like part of it.
Oh my gosh. Like that's actually should be on a t-shirt. I feel like that's what I'm learning. Like even saying yes to showing up to this and to do it. Yeah. Is me being like, I feel like I'm in such a transition and I feel very messy right now. And I'm like, whatever. Like okay, figure it out. Like just show up and can you be brave enough to just be honest at where you're at?
Yeah.
And which, interestingly enough, is what makes art good. Is like honest authenticity, mess. Like the theater thing is like the thing that goes wrong that night is the thing that makes the play alive.
Right.
So can I take that knowledge about that and like apply it to my everyday existence? I'm trying.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard, right? Because there's so many external forces and like everybody's got an idea about what it is that you need to do to get to the place that they think you ought to be instead of just being...
I'm obsessing about what they think, too.
Right.
And I'm like, who do you need me to be? How should I dress? What should I wear? How should I be? All the things.
Right, but the story that you just told is that you dressed up like a person that wasn't even supposed to be in the audition. Yeah. Everybody else was dressed the way that you dressed, like a lumberjack for your, TGI Friday audition that you're going to after that. And you showed up, you said the wrong word. There's like 3 letters of a word. Yeah. You said the wrong one. They laughed and you got the job.
Yeah, exactly.
That's incredible.
And then it airs, right? Well, then I go and I work on Warner Brothers, which was so cool. You know what I mean? And we were like, the scene was in one of the houses. So I'm also like on Warner Brothers, on a lot. In anybody who's been to Warner Brothers, it's like so cool. It's like a neighborhood that exists. Like talk about, I'm in it. Oh my gosh, I'm in my dream. And
Academy Award is so close. You're so close to touching it. Yeah.
Even though inside I'm like, you don't deserve to be here. Okay, make sure you don't mess up. Make sure nobody sees this. Wear it. Like so much internal stuff.
Yeah. Which, by the way, I think my belief system is that everybody says that to themselves. Yeah. No matter how successful, no matter how big, how many awards they've got. Look, this is totally anecdotal, but I feel like I heard one time from a good source on the inside that it's like, Tom Hanks won an Academy Award for Best Actor for, I think it was Philadelphia, and then he did another one that, what was right after that? Well, he won 2 Academy Awards, and then the next year he was up to get the 3-peat, right? And he was Saving Private Ryan was going to be his third, and he ended up losing it, right?
Yeah.
Do you think that he went home and was just like, I'm great. I feel really good about that. I'm totally fine. No, dude.
I want to believe he was.
No, he definitely wasn't.
Yeah.
America's everyman was also like, fuck, I should have got that third one. I'm not good enough to get, like, everybody's insecure. There's no dollar sign or amount of awards that are going to put on a shelf that you're going to be like, I made it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true, I think, for sure.
Anyway, I don't know if that Tom Hanks thing is true or not, but whatever.
It's the internet. We can say anything we want.
It's the internet. We can say anything we want, Tom. Come at me.
Yeah.
Sorry, I cut you off. But so you were on Warner Brothers lots.
Oh, I was on Warner Brothers.
In a house.
You were
certainly nervous, but you're ready.
I'm ready. All of the actors come in. So I meet, like, the scene was most of the main cast, but I don't really meet them because I'm a one-day guest star. So it's like they're very busy. I'm there. Hi, night. Everybody was very nice to me.
Yeah. Do you know? Sorry to cut you off. Do you happen to know what episode of? Is this season 1?
No, this is season 3. I can't remember the episode, but it's towards the end. And
cool.
what is my character is like a reveal in the sense that it's like, oh, now Casey, this character on the show, he has a daughter that nobody knew about, right? And so I guess there was a version of my mind that understood that it could always be something bigger, but I didn't think it would be that, and there was no contract or talk about that.
Right.
The episode aired. I remember because this was also like the time of Twitter, which I wasn't really like on social media in that way, but like literally a friend had been like, you need to have a Twitter. So she had set the account up, and I never like silenced the notifications because I never got a notification until the day it aired. And then all of a sudden it was like, bring, 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 bring. And I had this moment of being like, oh, that's, I guess, because I didn't totally understand how much of like a phenomenon and like little, what's the word I'm looking for? Like cult classic in some ways, for lack of a better term, that Chuck was. Like Chuck has this incredible fan base, which I'm so, so deeply grateful for. And so when they decided to write the character back, I didn't inherently have the role. They called my manager and was like, okay, this character is going to continue, but I had to retest.
Wow.
So it had already aired and they were maybe going to recast me. But I guess it makes sense. Or this is the way I always made sense of it, is like, this was like my second job. And was I gonna, but the casting directors, I got there and they were I was so nervous.
Of course.
Right? The casting directors were so wonderful. And I remember them saying something like, we want you to get this. Like, all of us want you to, like, we want you to succeed in this, which really made me feel good. And we worked on it, and then it went. And then I remember I was working a cocktail waitressing, like, job, like, at somebody's house, actually a very famous actor's house, who was having a party. And I was there, and it was like all these like the world that I wanted to be in.
Right, of course.
And I am there with like a tray of champagne, like aerating their lawn with my heels as I'm going around.
I've definitely done this before,
And so it's like my life at that time was so much like these juxtapositions. And I was very overwhelmed, and I went behind the garbage cans to take a break for a second and smoke a cigarette, because I smoked at that time. I do not condone smoking, but I was, and I was like so emotional. I just was at a weird place. And then my phone bings, and it's a friend of mine. And she was like, Michael Osceola just said, I just read that he had, which was like some, I don't know if you know who it was, but he like had a website or whatever at the time.
It was like a blog or something like that. It was
and I don't know how this
knowledge.
person found this out, but somehow it was released that I was going to be on the show and my character was going to keep going. That's how I found out about it. So right away I was like, wait, what? She sent me the link. I'm like, are you sure? And so then I send it to my manager right away. And like, I can't remember those pieces, but then it all comes together. It's like, yes, it's going to happen. But it was like this total, like, it felt like this show had not existed yet, but it felt like Party Down. You know what I mean? Like it felt like like, so yeah, it was like a very surreal kind of moment. And then I kept working, and then that one word co-star turned into 3 the next 2 seasons. So I
Okay,
finished
so
up
just
season 3.
when you say you finished working, you mean you went back into the cocktail party
Oh
and
yeah,
you finished that
I
shift?
needed that money.
Yeah,
Are you
yeah,
kidding
yeah.
me? I
Of
had rent
course.
due. I wasn't gonna book another job. Okay, are you
I get
kidding
it.
me?
I just like
but I had a different experience. I was like, I'll be on your side soon. What would you? You know what I mean? So I was
love
gonna
it.
be
You gotta
picked and
swagger
chosen
me.
too. No, I wasn't.
Oh.
I'd probably like, would you like this?
Oh my God, that's incredible. I definitely had so many cater waiterings.
That's cater waiter. Yeah.
Okay, great. So you're on the show.
Yeah.
And how was that?
It changed my life. It was like, honestly, it was really, really, it was very fun. I kind of wish I could go back in time and be more present.
Yeah.
But I was just so trying, again, at that time, it was a lot of like, am I doing this right? Am I making things, is everything okay? And then because the show had such like a fandom too, I felt like there was a lot of responsibility to something that had already been created and deeply loved.
Right.
And I'm so grateful to all of the Chuck fans because I really feel like their embracing of my character is a lot of the reasons I think that they kept writing for me.
Right.
And it was fun. And then I like meet some of my best friends on the planet, you know,
Right.
like Yvonne is one of my very greatest friends. And so it totally changed my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's incredible. I mean, I hear you talk about that. I hear you say that and like just about the experience of it and the reverence that you brought to this character because of the fans and their response to you being so positive.
Yeah.
And like I do think that there is something to be said that's like you are the person that they fell in love with, right? Like you coming to this story through this character is like what you brought of yourself to it is the thing that they connected with.
Yeah, thanks
right?
for saying that.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think it's important to say because a lot of times it's really easy for us as artists, I think, to be like, oh, I'm just doing somebody else's bidding. But like the reality is that while that may be true, the people who are consuming this story see you as this person. And this person can't exist without you.
Thanks for saying that.
Yeah, of course.
I'm going to take that in.
Yeah, of course. Okay, so Chuck fans love you, right?
Yeah. Well, I felt love from them, I should say. Like I had like a Comic-Con experience.
Oh man, talk to us about
which
this.
was
This
really
is gonna be awesome.
Cool. We were at a part at like Zach, who was the main guy, Zach Levi. He had Nerd Herd at the time, and we would do I don't know, where people come and meet and greets. I'd never had one. And like, that was my first experience. I was like, I am here for an hour and there's a line and they're waiting. Like to feel that part made me feel very overwhelmed because that part felt like kind of dysregulating some way because of my stuff. But I also felt so like, I think that's when I really understood like how important and loved this show was and and looking back, like the fact that I ever even got that experience is wild, man. Like that probably make me emotional, but sometimes I'll sit in a place where I'm like, my career didn't go where I thought it should go or where my life didn't turn out, you know? And then I remember if I had told that like 7-year-old who was sitting there like watching Buffy the Vampire Slayer that one day it would happen and I would be on TV in a show that like matters to people.
Yeah. Like
I'm able to kind of look back now and take more, I guess it's what you were just talking to me about. Like I'm taking more ownership, not like this was an accident that happened to me. Like there was a version of me that created the narrative that was like, I kept having to prove myself. Like they didn't really want me. You know what I mean? Which is not about them. That's about me and my history, you know? But it was wild. It was wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, that's so awesome. Okay, so then was your character written off or did the season series just wrapped?
Yes, the series totally ended.
Okay, so everything's tied up in a nice little bow. Like
so Chuck kept being like, maybe it's going to be on the chopping block.
Right.
Like,
I mean,
not because the fans didn't like it, but whatever the money thing was. And then, so we knew that last season was our last season.
Right.
So the writers had time to like create an ending that made sense. But the ending was like a bit of a cliffhanger.
Right. Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. So, hey,
Listen, that is the question everyone asked online. I have no answers. I do not know if it'll
I
happen
didn't even know
or not.
I was going to ask that question today, but like, okay, great.
Yeah, I mean, people are always saying that. I don't know that.
I
that
mean,
will
it's
ever
the
happen.
world of reboots and regenesis of things. Who knows? Anything's possible.
Anything is possible.
Okay, so Chuck ends.
Chuck ends.
Now what?
Chuck ends, and I get my first offer for a feature, an indie feature, and that was really, 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 really cool. And I go to upstate New York in this tiny little town called Rhinebeck, and I'm working with a bunch of actors who I love, one of which is Glenn Powell, who wasn't Glenn Powell yet.
Yeah, he was Glenn Powell.
I mean, he was always Glenn Powell.
Yeah. But now he's Glenn Powell.
Glenn Powell. And let me tell you, he has had star power since the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that was such a cool experience. All of a sudden, like, there was a wave that I was kind of riding, and it felt really good. And I had a lot of fun on that set, and I loved it. And then I would say shortly after that, I hit a roadblock.
Okay.
And a lot of that, it's hard to like fully talk about it because some of it's like very kind of like personal.
Okay.
But a lot of the pieces, like what was happening professional is I was getting really close to a lot of things. And the feedback was constantly like something about the way I looked and my age being perceived. So, or that's how I was internalizing. It was like, we love McKenna, but she doesn't look old enough to have a baby. Or I love McKenna. So it was like, a lot of my old narrative stuff was like coming down on me that something intrinsically about the way I show up and exist in the world is what is wrong with me.
That's the problem.
Yeah, that's the problem. And then also the industry was shifting at this time. There was like a big shift that was happening. And
in what way?
I think there was a lot. I mean, Netflix. So Chuck is the first, I think, of my understanding, is one of the first people like, instead of going to like regular syndication, we have a Netflix deal. And so now we're living on Netflix.
So you guys aren't syndicated at all?
I mean, we went to we had like 90 whatever. Oh, this is really bad. I don't know.
It's okay.
This is so my we went to Netflix.
Right.
So we didn't air on TV afterwards. And so what that also meant financially, I think now we have an understanding because we've gone through the strike and all this stuff.
Yeah.
But like I made money basically one time for this deal.
Right.
And then so what also happened is like I had to go back to work, and the work I went back to was being a waitress. Right. And there's no shame in being a waitress. I actually like loved that, a lot of that experience. But when you're on a TV show that's airing and you work with your waitressing apron on and people are like, "Oh my God, I love you. Can I like have your autograph?" There is this like really weird perception, like thing that was going on in my mind. And one of the things that I definitely experienced at that time was there's like a hierarchy energy in this town. Like when you're working, it means something. And when you're not working, it means something else. And like, if you let yourself down, allow that energy to come in, which I did because I was really used to finding all the narratives that meant I was small.
Right.
And it really crept in on me. And then I had some like kind of personal stuff that happened. And I just felt like I started like free falling. Like I didn't know what branch to like latch on to. Right. And then I went into kind of a journey where I was always making my own stuff. Like before I even got Chuck, I co-created and co-starred in an indie feature that me and my cousin Polly Cole and Natalie Smyka and my cousin's husband, so my husband-in-law, Joe Robert Cole, we all created. Mm-hmm. And that was like this wild, crazy experience. So I was always like making movies and wanting to do that.
Yeah.
So that part kind of shifted back in, and I started like making a bunch of shorts again and like writing TV scripts with Natalie and my friend that I just talked about. And so I was starting to kind of shift, but I was figuring out, I was at the beginning of this journey of figuring out who I was. And also I think maybe like the heart of it was, like I said before, what creativity always was for me was a way for me to like process and understand the world and my feelings. So it was a very important tool for me to be able to show up as a healthy organism. And once I like outsourced that to commerce, and once I outsourced that to like, this is what your value is, which both the world did to me and I showed up to because I thought, I don't know, like that's how I was perceiving it. I lost this thing that was so important for me to like be an okay human in the world. And yeah, it's been like, I don't know how many years now, but like a decade plus of me like figuring out. And I just feel like at this moment, I'm starting to like right my ship and honestly like understand. I feel excited again, like I did when I was little, but I had to renegotiate my dream. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I had to let myself break up with my dream too.
Yeah.
That was a big thing that happened. So
Yeah.
like, there's this little pocket of time that like I'm auditioning and things aren't happening and blah, 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 and like the walls are caving in, and then COVID happens. And that was a big break. And there was a moment where my manager, it's a long story, all these moving pieces, but he calls and for no fault of his own or whatever, like there's a big layoff that happens. And I find myself for the first time in my career, because again, I came out here and things kind of happened for me pretty quickly.
Right.
I find myself with no representation. And I thought that feeling would be panicking, but instead it felt freeing. And I was like,
oh man,
this is an interesting thing that I'm going to sit with. And a lot of people at the time were like, how am I going to get back on set? And blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I don't, like something deep inside of me was like, you need to stop. You need to take a break. And then shortly after that, my dad has a stroke. He's doing great. But what I then had, for the first time in my life, I had no anchor here. And I was able to just like go home and show up for however many months, 3-4 months, and just be really present. And I find myself back in my childhood bedroom and I'm looking around at like my karate trophies and my clowns and my like all my stuff from my acting and like all these pieces of who I was. And there is a moment where I was like, I woke up and I was 35 and I was like, how did it turn out like this? And then there was another part that was like, oh yeah, like this is who I always was.
Right.
And then I was like rollerblading around my neighborhood and I was doing little art projects again with my friends. And I was like, a friend of a friend was a photographer and I was like, I have this like concept. We have like, let's go just shoot a bunch of pictures. Like these things that made me again were starting to slowly come back to and then this thing happened in therapy where a lot of what I'm kind of dealing with is I'd kind of piecemealed myself off into a bunch of different parts. And my therapist was like, what happens if you create a piece of art that you don't leave any piece of you out? Like it's all about you. And like, not just about me, but like about,
it's all of your hyphenates.
Yeah, it's about all the pieces that make me. It's like what I was feeling in high school, right, where I could make whatever I wanted to make. Where when you're like in a job like this, and there's no like, it's not bad or good, but it's like your color is purple. Your job today is to show up and be the color purple. But I'm like, but I also think blue and orange and green and all these things with like, yeah. And so then that's like the beginning of the journey that I started to be on. And I don't know where I'm going, but I'm having more fun making art than I ever have. And another important piece that happened was I also started working with artists that like really inspired me. And I produced something for my friend Yanni Gelman, and he's such an interesting creative artist. Like the way he thinks and goes, and like a lot of the way we shoot stuff is like kind of guerrilla and like we'll show up somewhere. And I was like, yes, this is fun again. And how do I help you take your vision and become something? And then I worked with Yvonne Strahovski, who I met on Chaco, who's a good friend of mine. And she had this idea for a short and we were just like throwing it around the living room one day. And that experience was deeply healing because a lot of what was hard for me in other set situations, even the best versions of them, is that they weren't always set up for somebody like a neurocomplex person with CPTSD. Like there was a lot of things. And to be on her set and the way she ran it and the way she ran, it was healing for me because she is a mother and she's showing up and she's like, everyone was being taken care of. It was an active learning situation. She knew that there was parts of me that was learning and there was no like shame in that.
Yeah.
And I had this flash where I was like, okay, this is the heartbeat. If I can create work environments that feel like this, or show up to work environments that, or only say yes to work environments that feel like that, then I think there's still a world where I get to play. And so now as I am creating my own work environments, I'm thinking so deeply from that lens, like how can this be the most ethical place possible? How can it be the safest for everybody? How can, like, yeah, so that's where
That
I'm
sounds
at.
great. That's incredible. I mean, I like
Feels-
like one thing that I want to say like to that is that it's like I really empathize with the idea of letting go of a dream, right? And I think like I've been having conversations here, but also outside of the podcast with just like friends and fellow creatives that I knew before COVID.
Yeah.
And like I think the overwhelming sense is that we are of a generation of people that by virtue of having lived in a world prior to COVID, by virtue of having lived in a Hollywood before COVID,
Yeah.
we had a narrative that was built for us about what linear rise and elevation looks like within that industry that existed.
Totally.
Right? And that industry has completely changed within a less than 5-year period. And now here we are on the other side of it without the hubris of youth, right?
Yes.
Because we have
yes.
experienced the hubris of youth and we were given gifts for that. We were given accolades and opportunities and like we were like, this is what it is. Great. We can have abundance in this world that is very clearly only about commerce, but we can figure out our place within it. We can figure out how to rise within whatever that expectation of success is for us, right? Pitching, selling TV shows, going to studios, doing all this stuff, right? And then COVID hits and then everything changes. And then for a certain class of people within Hollywood, everything stayed the same.
Yes.
Right. And then there's a large group of people who are probably like more middle class within that world. The bottom completely dropped out. Right. And so we're all positioned. And my friend said this to me that, and I think it's really applicable to what you're saying, is that he was like, oh, I had to grieve the loss of the career I thought.
I am grieving everything about what I thought my life would be.
Right.
I mean, pick a topic. Like I thought as a 41-year-old woman, again, I would have an Oscar. I'd be having my production company. I'd be married. I'd have a child. Like all of these things I thought were supposed to happen to me didn't happen. And there is a massive grief that has to take place. And also the life I have right now is my most favorite version of my life I have ever been in.
Yeah.
And so I also think like what you're saying is interesting. It's really important because I also think it's like a microcosm of what was also happening everywhere else in the world. Like this huge thing happened and there's a version of people on a version level of privilege, a lot of people from that nice hometown I came from who none of this affected them, right? Or it affected them, but in different ways, not financially, they still their houses, all the things. Their jobs still were there and existed. And one of the things that also happened as a person who like mental health is something that's very important for my being because I have all this stuff going on. Therapy was really, really important for me. And when everything fell apart, what that also meant was I lost my healthcare. And when I lose my healthcare, I am so grateful because I'm so grateful that I have the straight up privilege to have parents who could step in and help me and make sure I got the care that I needed so that I could still be present to be here today. And I think the shift that happened in our industry, the shift that happened everywhere, it's like okay, there's like so many pieces the way my brain thinks about it, but right now it feels like if I pitch a business idea to somebody, the conversation is always, how can you minimize labor cost? And I'm like, but labor costs are human beings. That's how we feed our families. That's how we feed ourselves. And the more and more and more, like even with the AI conversation, I think I have many thoughts on AI, but like it's a tool, but also the way everything is going, it's like, how many people can we get? How can we have least amount of people being paid on this payroll?
Right.
And that is a world where people don't survive. And I don't actually think it's good for the artist. Like, I want to live in a world where anyone who I'm working with, everyone is being able to feed their family. Everyone is being taken care of. And that takes an incredible consciousness shift for all of us.
Yeah.
Right. So even the people, if anyone is out here who can like fund something, maybe thinking about the value of paying human beings as something really important in the funding of art.
Right.
So I don't know that like, it feels adjacent to what we were saying, but also the ways I've been thinking about how I would like to build any art that I'm making in the future. And I might fail at that. There might be ways that I can't do that thing. Right. But the more of us that are like thinking about how we make sure we as people have all the things we need to survive and be people, I think it will ultimately always serve art, because art is collaboration. And the more of us that can be on the day playing, the more collaboration exists.
Yeah. Okay, great. So you are currently you just said not very long ago that you find yourself in your favorite version of your life right now. And you're putting together projects where you have just started recording an album. Is that correct?
Oh my God. Yes. Okay. I'm going to work through my imposter syndrome. Yes, I am. I think it's an EP. I don't really understand the difference. Somebody told me it was the amount of things that are on there.
Sure.
My journey with that, kind of as I was talking about before, where my therapist was encouraging me to like have things that don't leave any part of me out. Another thing about being somebody who has trauma is a lot of times I didn't feel like I had a voice, right? And so she was like, I want you to be doing things where you're using your voice. I want you to be singing again. And I had stopped singing for a very long time. Singing was like I said before, it was like this really important thing. But I was like loud and annoying. And I had a teacher who meant well, but something like hurt my feelings. And I was like, nope, music's not for me. Like singing's not for me. Even though I had like a guitar that I carried around with me for like 10 years, that I'd be like, play my guitar. Anybody who came over to my house.
Yeah.
And so I had a guitar at my house, that guitar. And after therapy one day, I just like turned on my iPhone, which is also very weird because I'm not like a videotape myself person. But I turned my iPhone on and I knew 2 chords, and I would just play these 2 chords. And I just started like, as a way to get all of this stuff out of me. And what I started to realize when I was looking back on it is I was like, oh, like I would watch the videos back and I'd be like, oh, that's how I'm feeling. Oh, that's how I'm feeling. Okay. Yeah. That's how I'm feeling. And then I had this piano and no part of me was like, you're going to make music. Are you kidding me? That felt like so another lifetime that would be possible for me. And then I had this piano at my house and I was like, I want to learn how to play that piano. And I put it out into the universe. And a friend of mine was like, hey, we should go to this like friend's house party, whatever. And I was like, okay. And the first person I meet is my piano teacher. Shout out Danielle Titus. She's the best. If you guys need her, Instagram, check her out. And I meet her and she's like the parents' kids piano teacher. I'm like, do you teach adults? And she was like, I'll teach anyone who wants to learn. And then so she came over, and as my 39-year-old birthday present to myself, I started piano lessons.
Great.
And at a certain point, I get to this moment where like I have chords and I'm by myself, and this thing happens where like it's like a song fell out of me, but I didn't know it was a song because I was like, what does it mean to be a song? Like, is what I did a song, or like, am I making it? So then I started reading this book, like Jeff Tweedy's book, like Write One Song. I was like, just trying to understand what it all was. And meanwhile, it was like therapy. It was like helping me heal it. And what's fascinating to me is if you look at the clips of it, I start in this one little version of me, and my voice is like tiny and like this, and I'm scared. And then like I age and I gain 20 pounds and life happens and my voice starts to drop and it starts settling into this place. And then I just start like slowly putting it out into the universe. I start like slowly sending friends things. I sent Sabrina something and she was like, that's a song. And I was like, okay, that's a song. But the whole time, because I'm a narrative film world person, they're not just songs for me. They all have like a video essentially. So I'm like, oh, I guess I'm making music videos too, and they're all a story and they all go together. But I kept going back and forth being like, are you allowed to do this? You're not a singer. Like, who are you? This is your midlife crisis. You're going to be a pop star. You know what I mean? Like, and then I was like, no, just keep following what feels fun. Just keep following what feels fun and trust that at the very least will be a life you like living. And so, yeah, my life now looks like me playing music, having my piano teacher come on. I'm like helping a bunch of my other friends create their art together. And I'm making these music videos. I don't know what they will be or where they'll go or if I'll ever even share them with the world. But it has reignited and like anchored me into me, the thing I need to do to be able to show up as a fully like realized healthy version of myself so I can enjoy life, you know?
Yeah.
But I don't know if I'm going to get paid, and that's okay.
Yeah. I think like to speak about what I was saying before,
Yeah.
like hearing you say that, I think that a lot of us,
Yeah.
in this journey of whatever our expectations that have been completely undercut by circumstances beyond our control, like we can't control whether Paramount is going to buy Netflix or not. Like that's without
So
our control, right? So, but what we can do is just choose to create stuff. And like the thing that I've really been trying to focus on the last year myself is being in love with process.
Yes.
Right? Because like it's really easy and especially for like where I'm coming up to, right? Like is like I sort of sometimes feel like I'm the cater waiter situation.
Yeah.
We're going back to it after being on the show, which is like, oh, I was very comfortable as an actor in an actor's life and with an actor's income before COVID hit.
So real shift.
Yeah, real shift. And then going to camera department or Grip and Electric and like just working my way up through that process and being like, oh, well, I'm 35 and all of my peers are 20, 21.
Yeah.
And we're all lifting, we're just carrying sandbags and rolling C-stand carts and like carrying heavy shit and doing all this stuff. And it's really, really easy to fall into being curmudgeonly or annoyed because it's an early call. We're going overtime. It's really long. Oh, this director doesn't know what they're doing. Like there's a group mind within the people below the line that are lifting the heavy shit that it's really easy for them to turn into like, and so I was finding myself falling into that.
I think that mindset can be at every level. Which is like another piece that I've been sitting with. Like, you get to create your reality. You know what I mean? Like, you can go and be like, this is have all the feelings that you just had. Like, this is terrible. Or I can look at my career and be like, I never made it. I'm a one-hit wonder. You should be thankful you're a one-hit wonder, first of all. Or I could be like, wow, I did it. And now I have so much more life to live. What do I want to do next?
Right.
It's a narrative shift that we get to choose because what I love, I've never, like I said before, sitting in a theater, watching myself, that's so dysregulating for me. To be perceived is on a large scale is dysregulating. But what is very fun is to be hanging out with my friends, hauling C-stands, making something cool, if I let it be.
Right.
You know?
Right, exactly.
Which is the process.
It is the process. It's like letting yourself love the process.
Yeah.
Because process itself is gratifying, but isn't inherently easy. And therefore those things don't always align, right? Like ease or difficulty to gratification level from what you're doing. But that, again, is a narrative that you're telling yourself that you're like, I'm disgruntled by the amount of work that it's required for whatever this level of satisfaction is. But you can just decide to change that. You like flip a switch and you're like, actually, I'm really grateful to be on set today. And you know what? We're going a little bit long and I'm a little bit tired and I could use another meal, but whatever.
Yeah.
We're making a thing.
We're making a thing.
Yeah.
And then, you know, there is the part of that when, like, if you're on a set and people have a ton of money and they're not taking care of you in the way they should be,
Yeah.
like, that's a different version of a conversation because we should have, like, ethical sets and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But getting back to, like, what is exciting about making something, that's another piece of my journey that I think is kind of important too. I was like, I need to be somewhere where I'm not afraid to be bad again.
Yeah.
And so I started taking pottery.
Great.
Which this
Yeah,
is like
Sabrina
Sabrina made this,
made
right?
these, so.
She's way better than me. And
Oh, well.
I would be like on the wheel and it'd be there and then it would fall apart and I'd be like, oh my God, this is terrible. You're terrible. And I was like, okay, just put another piece of clay on there.
Yeah.
Like, and then to like have fun in it being a mess, which I had gotten so like, okay, this job, I have to get this job to do this thing because if I don't, I can't feed myself.
Right.
You know, or I don't have healthcare or don't like when when the stakes are that high, I at least could not show up and be the best version of myself or have the healthiest thing. And that's another thing with music too, because it was like, that's not, it felt like it wasn't my thing. So I could explore there.
Right.
It feels safe to explore there.
Right.
And I am excited to like maybe one day, if I do go back to the acting world, which is in my mind, I hope that I can bring that joy back with me.
Yeah. I hope so too.
Me too.
I think you will.
Thanks, friend.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
We're gonna have to do this again because I have so many more things to
and
talk
next time I'll
ask you
know
about.
not to like hit the mic.
I think it's great. I think we're talking about being messy. You said this is your first podcast
Yes,
ever,
it
girl.
was.
Damn, give yourself a break. Okay, guys, I just have so many more questions. This is so lovely. Okay, thank you so much for joining us. This is Film Shit. It is a podcast where we talk under the umbrella of everything TV and film, as in film shit, but also it is my hope that it's a call to action. So if you want to sit in this chair next to me and you want me to talk to you about your projects, please go out and film shit. That's the only way that we can do this. It's the only way that we can take control of our own narrative and our own future. So please go make something. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, McKenna.
Thank you.
All right, we'll speak soon. Cheers. Bye.